we are going to roll right into our next space now. As I mentioned earlier, for those that are in the space, the market is taking a second. Things are kind of cooling for a minute, so we're just gonna do some charting. So definitely stick around. Obviously, we're still going to be talking about these plays. We're still going to be talking about them live. We're definitely going to talk about some of these short squeezes as well and stuff that are going on, things that are breaking new highs, et cetera, et cetera. I would love to take names from the crowd, especially if there are stuff that you're passionate about. Go ahead and here's what I'll do. I'll just tweet, just comment them in the Spaces chat. So look at the what do you call it the Spaces chat. If you're on mobile, it should just be in the bottom right, and if you're not, it's just the actual tweet about this space, and you can just go ahead, comment them on there, and that's when I'll just go ahead and actually see, exactly what you're looking for, which stocks you want, and we'll roll from there. But for the meantime, let's pop it to Ben. And Ben, walk us through what you've been trading today and just what's on your watch list.
Hey, good morning. I haven't really done much. I did take a quick scalp in the NQ, but I'm just kind of sitting in positions that I've got some cushion in. We've talked about them in the past: Solar, TAN, XBI. I've got a position, that one up about 13% in that one. CRK, a few of the names in oil and gas, building a little bit of cushion in those. So just kind of riding those that I've been in long for the last couple weeks. I didn't really put on anything new as far as a position trade, but I saw that breadth kind of flat and give us a higher low there off the open and said, I have a feeling we're going to get a little squeeze here in the NASDAQ, and actually was better than I thought. I probably closed it a little too soon. But I think it was interesting this morning, too, to see how kind of the algos flipped. Like you had right off the open, you had energy and oil, natural gas. Those things were acting really strong. And then as those came off, you saw all the tech and communications and those things, retail, all that lift. So kind of really a strong correlation there, an inverse correlation there today that I was pointing out as oil and energy came off, you got that nice response and bounce in the NASDAQ. I see S&P. Brett there has gone positive. Brett's still negative on the NASDAQ, but well off, where it was off the open. So, and I think, bigger picture now, looking at where we're at on the Qs, the SPY, I follow IWO too, small cap growth. It seems to me like the 200-day moving average, probably a magnet above. That's kind of, what I'm looking at, is that we're probably going to get that test of the 200-day moving average on the NASDAQ, on the QQQ, that comes in right around 342. So about $9 from where we're at now. But just seems like the most likely area now that we pushed above year-to-date anchored VWAP. That seems like the next most logical area to see tested.
Okay. Yeah, definitely looking good. On SPY, right, coming up to that 200-day. Nice to see that we didn't really retest the year-to-date anchored VWAP as well. Just kind of blew right through it, and then just multiple days to the upside. And what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days in a row, or something like that, of green candles. I don't know. I have go no go on, so I don't even see red or green. All right, third day in a row of green candles. We did have one red in there, so something to keep an eye on there. All right, awesome, Ben. Appreciate the insight on what you're trading. I got way too many indicators on here. My screen isn't letting me close these. All right, cool. All right, let's pull it over as well. Dan, I believe that we have you on here. Is that correct?
Yeah, you got me.
Awesome. What are you looking at in the market?
What am I looking at in the market? I've been looking a lot at PayPal. So that's one that's done pretty well over the last few weeks, and I think it can do a little bit more. And it just kind of been in awe of the rally lately. Like I totally expected it to fizzle out, and it just kind of keeps on going. So I'm a little disappointed in myself for not taking advantage of it as more. I think I've kind of been in a little bit of disbelief, and probably could have been a little more active. Been watching a penny stock called Dave, right? That's not doing all that great right now, but it's trading, you know, at least on a fundamental bit, like, you know, under cash, under book, which I always look for when I'm looking for things that are possibly going to start basing sometime soon. So I'm watching that one to see if it does start to kind of form a base. Every base starts as a bear flag, right? So that's what it's in right now. So we'll see if it holds. I've been watching the wheat industry a little bit. Like MJ, the kind of main ETF in that space has been forming this really nice rounding bottom. It's been doing it at lows, right? It's got, you know, plenty of resistance to worry about above. But if you put the volume profile on it, you can see it's just been a ton of volume. You know, probably the most volume that's traded at any price ever. Has been in the very lows around the $6 range, right? It's trading about 660 right now, 657. So I want to see if that can continue, if it can reclaim maybe an anchored VWAP or two level. There's a bunch of them above it that if you kind of do the handoff method, you can kind of take it to there. I'll post a chart in a little bit here. But I think there could be some potential there, right? Because that's been like a brutal, like multi-year pullback. It just keeps pulling and pulling back. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking at.
Okay, very nice. Thank you. And Danny, we've had you trading for a little, so I'm just going to start throwing the names over to you and we'll just roll around from there. Just a reminder to oh, yep. Yeah, go for it, Danny.
Oh, no, sorry. I just said let's do it. My bad.
Okay, just a reminder to the audience, we are happy to take, again, tweets, or not tweets, my bad, tickers from yourselves if you want to submit them. I see a couple already got submitted. Let me throw the first one over to you because I actually literally just hopped into some September calls, Danny, and that's going to be Wayfair.
It's ticker W, right?
Yep. Just looking for kind of the little pump here.
Yeah, so nice bottoming formation here at 43 and change. And you can see top of the range was right at around 63. And so we broke out of that after earnings. Earnings was on August 4th. Had a little bit of a wicked shakeout candle on August 9th, but we've been steadily going back up. And it looks like today we're trying to break the top of the range here, that candle back on August 8th. That looks like 72.86. So we're just shy of that here. We did put in a new high over that candle today, but we're losing that at the moment. Bear with me one second. Just got to reformulate my chart here. So we're through that 50-day moving average. We have that declining 200-day moving average right at around 126. I think we could see a move back up to $90 on this next push, possibly up to 100. Then obviously anything over 100, we could see a back test of that 200. Now we haven't seen the 200 simple moving average since November 26th of 2021. And if you tag an anchored VWAP to that level, that's going to come in right at that $90 level that I just mentioned. So I think that's likely where we head next. So you got about potentially an 18-point move to the upside. We did have a TTM squeeze fire off to the upside the day right before earnings on August 3rd. So looks like it's still climbing. We're getting rising momentum each day, but we are, let's see, about 8 to 10 days into that squeeze. So usually around 6 to 8 days, you start to see that squeeze dissipate. So I would be a little more cautious taking breakout here. Breakout trades definitely have not been favorable during this bear market. But yeah, I mean, this is looking pretty good. If you got in, anywhere near $63 to $65, I think, your risk is pretty well defined. And I would watch for a trade up to 90. And then, like I said, potentially 100. And then if we get over 100, back to that 200 simple moving average at 126.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Danny. All right, Ben, we got a couple interesting ones. We were talking Home Depot today, so I'd love to get your thoughts on that. And then with Home Depot, perhaps we could throw in Walmart.
All right, we'll take Home Depot first. Wow, having a strong day. 200-day moving average is the first thing that strikes me right above. And we're probably going to, see that with a lot. Was there news? Let me see on Home Depot. Let's
Earnings
see.
today.
Oh, that's why. Yeah. So, strong move. You don't usually see Home Depot up almost 6% unless there is something going on with it. And there's not a lot of short interest in that driving it. You do have a couple days to cover there, but not much. But that 200-day moving average above, that would be the level that, I'd really be keeping an eye on continued strength. That comes in just under 334, with it trading over 331. But it did have a nice little consolidation there. If you kind of zoom out a little bit, can make out it might be a little sloppy, but an inverse head and shoulders pattern there, and then really breaking out of that today. Looks like really good volume. You've already done over a full day's worth of volume already. What's the average volume on this? Is about 3.5 million, and you've already done coming up on 6 million. So definitely big day. And like I said, that inverse head and shoulders pattern there, coming through there and breaking out, that looks good. Just got to push above the 200-day. You get above there, then you got maybe some resistance around 375, and then 415, 420 area, which is those prior highs. So just needs to really continue. Maybe a little bit of resistance there around that 340 level, 340 to 343, let's call it, if you do push through that 200-day moving average, kind of the next big level. But climbing the right side. We can say this about a lot of stocks right now. We've seen a lot of them kind of build out, round up their bases, and then push through. I'd also encourage keep that year-to-date anchored VWAP on, because you see Home Depot kind of pushing through there today, and a lot of these big spikes have come as they move up the right side through year-to-date anchored VWAP, and then through the 200-day moving average. Walmart gapping up. I know this one did have news. You're back above the 200-day moving average here with Walmart as of today. I've got anchored VWAPs. I've got a couple anchored VWAP levels. Let's see what this is from. Going back to prior highs, pushing up through there again too, back above year-to-date anchored VWAP. I have a volume shelf point of control that's kind of right there too, at today's kind of where we're at today's high. That comes in, right where we're trading, 140.40 basically. I'm sorry, what's today's high? 140, yeah, just below 141, where most of the volume sits. So if you could push back above there, maybe get a run to fill that gap, the low of that gap that you had back in May. That came in at 146. So, yeah, looking good as you move up the right side. Fill that gap. A lot of gaps in this chart, but you've filled quite a few of them now. That's really the last one from this recent decline that needs to be filled. You get up in there, maybe you get a run back towards prior highs. At least those April highs near 161 is what I'd be looking for on continued strength.
Okay, very nice. Let's throw. I'm gonna throw one more at you, Danny, and then I'll throw one at you, Dan. Danny, we got to take a look at BBBY here. It's interesting to me because I'm just looking at the flow, and there's still just a maddening amount of calls coming into here. I see just hundreds of thousands of dollars of premium still coming in on weekly calls.
Yeah, I think the best thing for this is just to kind of jump out to the weekly chart. And from the weekly chart, what I'm doing is I'm looking all the way back to that spike high on January 25th, or the week of January 25th on 2021. And then there's another spike high on May 31st of 2021. You draw a trend line through that. We're breaking through that trend line for the first time in a while. We did have a false breakout through that the week of March 7th of this year, and then we wicked into it the week of March 28th. But also, if you look at the volume, this is just really shouldn't come as a surprise. 2 weeks ago, we had above average volume. Last week we had a considerably above average volume, and then this week's volume so far has already exceeded last week's volume. So no surprises here. While we were talking about BBBY on the last space, I was just going through Reddit and saw some really interesting posts about 6 hours ago. So the Reddit, the Reddit crew is definitely on this, ready to push this really high today. So again, no real surprises if you know how to follow that. But what I'd be watching here, $30. I know we talked about $30. I think that's what everybody's watching. That was the spike high or the false breakout back on March 7th, the week of March 7th. But if you look left, basically $30 to $32, $33, that's that range resistance that we saw for most of 2021. If we break through that, then I think this really has a shot at screaming up to $50 possibly this week if we get that nice breakthrough 30. So, but yeah, I mean, it's a meme stock. Definitely wouldn't be chasing this at this point. Maybe you can buy pullbacks for a quick scalp. But it's certainly dangerous to do. And I think we checked the IV on this for options, and it was pretty elevated in the 400 to 500 range on IV. So got to be really careful. You have to be a sniper, and if you want to trade some of these meme stocks. But yeah, $30. I think everybody's eye is on that. If we can get over that, then I think this can really go nuts. Not like it hasn't already gone nuts, but they can go extra nuts.
Yeah, absolutely. I also just want to caution, if you're playing some of these, there's two sides of the ball, right? There's the one side of, cut your trade quick and don't take downside loss. And then there's the side of have patience, right? You got to wait for things to play out. You got to wait for the squeeze. All I'm going to say is, I don't care which side you're on, just have a definitive plan going into it before you pull the trigger on one of these trades. Know which way you're going to approach it. Know when you want to sell. Have an idea of how much you want to make on it, right? Like, go into these with just a plan so you have an understanding. So that way, if you are down 15% and you have in your mind, oh, I know at 25% I'm getting out of this, well, then that's okay, right? So you're still sitting there and you have the opportunity for patience. But if you're down 15% and your plan wasn't to be down more than 10%, you got to get out. So just have an idea of that. All right, let's drop it to Dan. Dan, want to do Apple?
Sure. Let me pull it up. Let's take a look. Wow, all of these names have just run. Similar to what I think Danny was saying about BBY, right? If you draw a simple trend line on Apple, right, you connect the January 3rd of this year high to the next major high at the end of March 30th. We're running right up to that, right? So I'd be nervous about chasing it here. You have that gap right below it. It's been on a tear. I mean, it's moved a lot since it's moved 35% in a little less than 2 months, right? Just kind of straight up and to the right. So it's running into this trend line here. That's something I would watch. Like if it can break above that, pull back, touch it again, and bounce off it, retest it. Then there's probably a good argument for a measured move, which would take you quite a bit higher. But as it stands right now, I personally wouldn't chase it because it's not like it doesn't have a whole lot of room to go, right? It's a big cap name, right? So it's also tough for it to maintain momentum, tougher than like some small caps might be. So that would be another reason for a little bit of caution. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on Apple.
Okay. Yeah, that definitely works. All right. Let's keep it going here. Okay. Ben, there's some real interesting ones here. So I'm very curious. Two that are definitely on my radar, ones that I own that a lot of people have kind of brought up to me are CELH as well as Google.
CLH, Clean Harbors?
No, CELH.
CELH, Celsius.
Mm-hmm.
I gotcha. Yeah, and you're flagging now. I have anchored VWAP from off of the high there, which kind of capped the upside today. And the prior flag that I had back in, what is that, early July, around the maybe 7th, 8th of July. I had an anchored VWAP there as it came through that flag, and I left that on, and that was today's low. So you've kind of come through that range. Anchored VWAP off of the most recent high, anchored VWAP off of the prior high to that flag. What I'm looking for here is a push back through, and you also have the 20-day moving average right there at today's low as well. Looking for that to push back through that anchored VWAP from off of the most recent high. Then you have a little trend line there across the top, push out of there, break out into new highs. That's basically what I'm looking for. So depending on whether you're a dip buyer or if you're a breakout buyer, you're going to want to wait until it gets through that trend line and up out into new highs. If you're a dip buyer, I think there was an opportunity there this morning coming into that 20-day moving average and anchored VWAP. Can manage that very tightly. If it rolls back over, no problem. You're out with a tight stop. If you get in on that pullback like that, and then it does go and break out, you can sell into that and have really nice cushion into that breakout. Can kind of avoid the breakout drama, as Danny mentioned earlier. Those more traditional breakouts haven't been working nearly as well in this market, which is why not bad to look for those kind of alternate entries on those pullbacks, especially in these leaders. And SellH, I would definitely put it in there as a leader. And I finally found that Arctic one, so I'm gonna get to try that. We finally were able to come across it locally. Every time I went to get it, it was sold out. So, and the other was Google. I will say this about Celsius: if it does come in and that 20-day gives way, it is quite extended. So probably due for a, pullback and a larger base to build. But we can say that about a lot of things right now. The market just keeps grinding higher. Google. Anchored VWAP from off of the high. That's kind of what we're pushing up against the last couple sessions. That's off the January high. Kind of capped the upside yesterday. So now kind of looking for that. If you push through there, you've got year-to-date anchored VWAP above there. That would be the next level I'd be looking at. 124.21 is where that comes in, with Google trading just under 122. You push through there, 200-day moving average above there, 129.09, where that comes in. To the downside, I have an anchored VWAP. Actually, I have a couple of them. I have an anchored VWAP off of the most recent low, the July low. And that's kind of lines up just below or right there with the 20-day moving average. So if we do come in, I also have a pivot there between 119 and 120, which may act as support if we come in. But I do like that Google has finally come out of. You've had this kind of sideways consolidation. It's been in since early summer. You came out of there to the upside, and now just kind of needs to push through these levels. You do have one other level, horizontal resistance to be aware of. Those prior lows going back to earlier in the year. Keep an eye on those. If you do push through that anchored VWAP from off of the high, year-to-date anchored VWAP, watch those levels. Those prior lows come in 124.50, and then I have another one marked at 124.95. So we'll say right around the 125 level. So if you can push through that year-to-date anchored VWAP, push through 125, you got a good shot at the 200-day next at 129 above.
Perfect. Yeah, Google's, I added a position this past week. I think it's roughly around where I added. It's, right around that 121 range. So exactly kind of what you were looking at. And I think that I kind of see this year-to-date anchored VWAP as that key resistance, and I'm just waiting for the breakthrough and then looking for a similar move to like SPY made, break through it, and then, clean finish and close, and then a couple days of bullish action on top of that. But yeah, really nice to see it coming out of this bull. And
that's exactly what we've seen over. It's funny because going back a month ago, we were just talking about, this is in a decline. This is in a decline. Everything we discussed, downtrend, 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 and now it's the exact opposite. Everything climbing the right side and just kind of taking its time. Exactly like you were saying, going through this one level at a time. Push through the VWAP, come out of the consolidation, then year-to-date VWAP, then next level. It's kind of the exact opposite of what we were talking about, just a month ago, as everything was in a downtrend.
100%. Okay, let's take a second here. Dan, I want to bring you back into it. So I believe for today, we wanted to chat over smart checklists, which is actually something that Ben taught me about. And I don't know if Danny used it, but I think he might. And so for those who are, joining in, we always do these spaces on a weekly basis. We take a bunch of tickers from the crowd. Danny's been dropping a ton of charts. If you want to see them, they're just all inside of the Spaces chat. So you can just scroll down and there's just like a dozen charts in there to take a look at. Apple, Home Depot, Walmart, a bunch more. And in addition with that, we also try to teach the audience a little bit about how to conduct technical analysis, but also just other helpful tools that you can use. For example, a lot of people have never really used scanners. Scanners are how I found literally every single play today. I can't just be like searching through hundreds of stocks, and I honestly just don't see most of the stuff. But now I can scan for significant volume and new highs and share price over $10 and near an anchored VWAP, right? Whatever it is. So teaching people how to use the tools is just as important. All the tools that we're using are all available inside of TrendSpider. That's the platform that we go with. We have a completely free trial. If anybody wants to try it, it's pinned to the top of the space. It is just the pinned tweet right up there. And it also has a 35% discount built into it. So you can try the free trial for a week. And if you like it, you can convert at 35% off. That's the highest discount on the internet. You can search. You're not going to find any other code higher than that in the area or on the internet or in existence. So with that being said, let's just take a second and talk about smart checklists. Dan, educate us.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for the plug. I posted about this actually on my Twitter. You can pin it about 20 minutes ago or something like that about this. But this is what I think is one of the most underused features in the platform that is, and it's kind of a shame because it's super powerful and it saves you a lot of time. So what you do with this is you make a checklist, right? Like this might be price being trading higher than it opened on 10 time frames, right? Like 5 minutes, 15, 30, 65, whatever. It could be like certain candle patterns, like is it a hammer, is it an inside bar, an outside bar, right? It can be certain date related things, like is earnings coming up, did earnings just happen, is a dividend coming up, did an analyst recently say something about this, has there been news, right? And then it's technicals, right? Like is the moving average on this time frame trading above this one, is it trading above different anchored VWAPs, are oscillators doing certain things. You can basically define your conditions, and they can be really anything you can dream up, right? And you do it once, and you open it as a smart checklist in your sidebar, and every symbol you pull up, it'll then check all of that for you and simply give you green light, red light, right? Yes or no. And that's something that can save you a huge amount of time, especially if you scan, right? Because you can scan for like something that's starting to be good, and then you can flip through it and look at your checklist and pick out the things that fit your style the best. It's also great if you just have it open as you're trading throughout the day. Because when you come across opportunities that fit all your conditions, maybe on the time frame you're on at that exact particular second, or the zoom that you're in, it doesn't look great, right? But it may have like a perfect storm for you, all the conditions that you look for, whatever strategy you trade with. So I think it's one of the most underappreciated, underknown things. It's probably our fault because we kind of hide the feature. Like you have to go to edit your sidebar, add it, and then you have to like configure your checklist. But once you do it, it saves you a huge amount of time every single time you change charts, which is why I always tell people, like, take the time to learn how to use it and set it up. It's not hard. And, you do it once, and every symbol you look at, you're going to have a clear view as to what you care about and what's happened and what isn't true, right? So you can avoid things that don't fit your strategy and better catch opportunities that do.
Perfect. Ben, so this is something that you showed me. Why do you like using it?
I love when I'm scrolling through my watch list, what's actionable, to quickly be able to see, are we green, looking for that full time frame? Are we green on the month? Are we green on the week? Where are we sitting on the daily and the 65-minute? Those are kind of my time frames that I'm really focused on. I love to see a consolidation, things tighten up, maybe a triangle or a flag. And then I can kind of pinpoint exactly when, especially if we're green in the bigger picture, like on the month and the week, but maybe we're red on the daily or the 65-minute. And I can pinpoint exactly where that's going to go green, especially if it's something I know you guys were talking about short squeezes earlier. I know that if there's a lot of short interest, high short ratio, that if I can time that breakout to where we get back into full time frame, meaning the month, the week, the day, and the 65-minute are all green, I'm going to really increase my chances for a successful trade, and especially if I'm looking for something to squeeze. Once I know that we're back in full time frame, back to green on the shorter time frames, and as well as the daily and the weekly and the monthly, yeah, that's kind of my green light to get involved and go. I'll kind of filter that with maybe a shorter term moving average, like maybe the 8 EMA or the 10 MA. Depends on what I'm looking for. And again, you can kind of tie that in, like you mentioned earlier, when you were doing your scans. When you're screening for specific stocks, it's so nice to be able to see that, like maybe I'm looking for something to squeeze, and want to make sure that I'm above the 8 EMA or the 10 MA, before I take that entry. So just kind of tying it in with everything else I do. It just makes it so much easier too. It's like, let's say you've run your scanner and you pull up 10 names, you can shuffle through them real quick and see whether you're above those moving averages and where things line up on that time frame continuity with that checklist.
Yeah. Yep.
I feel like it keeps me honest too, right? Like if I see like no in the checklist, it's harder to ignore than if it's something on a busy chart.
Exactly. When I see that no and I see that red box there, especially if I know I'm green on the bigger picture, I'm really going to zoom in and be like, okay, where does this change? Like, what's my level? When does that daily go green? And especially if I've I love inside days. So if I see an inside day and I know, wow, inside day comes out over, 40, I might even just go ahead and put a buy stop order and say this hits 40.05. I'm in and I'm taking it because I know that I'm already green on the month and the week. I see the little consolidation and I've got my inside day. And when that comes out and that flips to green, I want to be in.
Perfect. Yeah, I think those are some great points. So one more time, if you want to find where this is, if you already activated your TrendSpider free trial, again, link is just pinned up top in the space, completely free trial for a week. You can go ahead and see this on the right side. It's just by your sidebar, and then you could hit add or remove widgets, and then you can hit add new widget here, and then it's just smart checklist. So it is built into that sidebar along with news, notes, unusual options, trading bots, a bunch of stuff which we've talked about many, many times, watch list and more. So that's a good place to check it out. And in addition with that, of course, if any of you want to actually go ahead and purchase the platform with that discount code, you're spending like $20 a month. I don't know if that's not worth it to have tools to help you trade. I don't know what is, because this stuff goes a real long way, and I don't personally trade without it, and I don't think these other guys do either. With that being said, I think we're going to keep it rolling here, hop back into a little bit more of this. And Dan, anything else you want to share?
No, I appreciate the plug and the attention and the business and the support. Thank you.
Yep, absolutely. We enjoy the product. Keep working. And also, now you have this little this Google add-on. Am I one of the first ones to test this?
You are. I'm pretty pumped about that one. That's it's such a little thing, but it's such a quality of life thing. It's a Chrome extension. You install it in your browser, and then you log in with your TrendSpider credential, and it will find any symbols on any web page that you're looking at, right? And make it so if you move your mouse and hover it over the symbol, it just loads your TrendSpider chart. So it's a quick way to like see your charts with your indicators, your settings, right? Range reps if you want, whatever you're looking at, just on any page in a tweet, right? Whenever someone puts a symbol there, you just move your mouse over it. So that's probably going to be released in the next 2 weeks or less. Like, it's pretty far along. We're in just the final stages of testing. That's why we've asked for some beta testers for it. I'm pretty excited about it. It'll be free for anyone who has a TrendSpider account.
Perfect. Awesome. Okay, there you have it. So another bonus to have. All right, let's go back into some of these tickers. Let me drop Tesla over to Danny.
Sure thing. Let's take a look at Tessie. All right, so yeah, I mean, I think we talked about this the last time. We're really struggling with 930. I think that's really going to be the key level to watch for a daily close over. We got a close, I think, yesterday over 930. I think we closed at 935, and then we gapped up, I believe, slow. We got down a little bit, came through yesterday's high, and just faked everybody out and just sent it right back down to 910. So yeah, I think Tesla's just really tough to trade if you don't know the personality of the stock at the moment. And for those of anybody that's looking to get in to go long to the upside, I think 935, really 940. We gapped, so we wicked up to 944. So I would be watching 944 this week. If we can get over 944 this week, that should trigger a bigger run. But yeah, once we come in, you could see it. Like even when we came down this morning to 910 and bounced, we stopped right at 930 again. So really, we need to see strong, a strong push through 930. And then obviously a close over 940, 945 to trigger a bigger run. On the flip side, what I would say is, under 900, I think we have 15-point drop to the downside, 14-point drop to the downside, 886. Then below that, another 20 points down to 864, and then 851 below that, 836 below that. So it's still looking like an impulsive move higher. Potentially, we're seeing a little bit of a wave four. I see an ABC correction already in this wave four. It can sometimes be ABC. It could sometimes be A, B, C, D, E. So the question is, are we in wave D? With a wave E coming down, maybe to back test 900, keeping in mind we do have a gap between 900 and 904. Not all gaps need to be filled, but I would be watching if we continue to see downside price action. I would watch for a gap fill bounce at 900, or is ABC in this wave four complete, and are we going to be starting our wave five? And in that case, if we see that, this is potential wave two of five here. So certainly watching Tesla price action very closely. I do trade it almost every other day, sometimes every day, depending on the week, if it's trending. But yeah, I think we're just setting up. I think we have FOMC minutes tomorrow, so I think we'll likely see better opportunities and better price action Thursday and Friday of this week. Yeah, I can't hate on Tesla right now. I think we're just setting up for a bigger move. Just don't know if that move is going to be to the upside or maybe back down to the downside.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Danny. All right, looking at some of the other high flyers today. Ben, would love to get your thoughts on Carvana. It's been making some interesting moves today. And then with Carvana, let's take a look at NVIDIA.
All right, Carvana consolidating a little bit here just below year-to-date. Anchored VWAP really came up the right side nicely, rounded out there. This is one that in the past, I haven't looked at it recently as far as what the short interest is. Yeah, the short float is still huge. And this is, something that can sometimes be deceiving. You have almost 30% short float, but that's only a couple days as far as it goes to cover. But it looks like they're going to be scrambling again. What are we up? Yeah, really nice session today. Little flag here. The most recent high, just 4 sessions ago, Anchored VWAP, the last couple sessions was acting as resistance. You pushed through there today. So when that happens, I really like to see it take out the most recent high. That comes in at 57.32. Get up and over there. Year to date, Anchored VWAP next 59.41. That level. volume there, then consolidate volume now. Just want to see if that can continue up the right side. Looking a little bit higher, you've got some resistance maybe comes in just below that one, we'll call it 97 to 100 level there, maybe 98. And then you have the 200-day moving average much, much higher. But this thing is really a long way from the 200-day, huh? That comes in at 125, above 125. So a lot of work to do here up the right side, but a really nice rounded shape to that there. If it does go sideways a little bit, wouldn't mind that either. Allow kind of that 10-20 cloud to catch up to price and then push it through for a next leg up. On the downside, that's what I'd be looking at as far as support too. I'd be looking for that 10-20 cloud. That's the way I like to do it. I'd be looking for that 10-20 cloud to act as support. If it came in, you can also have an anchored VWAP there attached from the most recent low. That comes in just below the 20-day moving average. So levels to watch on the way up and on the way if it comes in. NVIDIA, this is another one that kind of has that sloppy inverse head and shoulders look to it that we talked about earlier. At a spot here, let me see where I'm anchored from. I've got volume by price going back quite a ways here. Okay, yeah, inverse head and shoulders is the look that I kind of see there. Putting in the right shoulder now, needs to push up through right around 192 to complete that shoulder on the right side. Let me see what this high is. 192.74. You push up and through there, then you come through the neckline there. A little bit further above, year-to-date anchored VWAP comes in at 208, so about $20 higher. Anchored VWAP off of the high, that would be the next level above there. And that one comes in a little higher, 222. So another one that's just kind of climbing the right side. If you were, you've got about maybe 50 points if you took a measured move. So coming through that level I mentioned, you add 50 to that, gets you up there around 240 or so, which would put you above the 200-day moving average. That one's coming in 229. So again, just kind of watching these levels, watch them climb the right side. I'd like to see volume come in when you break the neckline of that head and shoulder, but not so important as you come through the VWAPs. You just want to see them push the VWAP. Then if it does come in that same VWAP as it turns to the upside, acts as support, and then continue to move up the right side. This is another one that, like we talked about earlier, when I look at my checklist, I'm green on the month, I'm green on the week, but I'm red on the daily. So again, I kind of look to say, okay, where does that go green? And that would go green as you come out of that inverse head and shoulders pattern. This group has really firmed up. This is one that, I was watching for a while as a lot of things came off of the bottom. Semis as a group, they held up really well late last year and earlier this year. They were kind of one of the last ones to break off of the top when we moved into a bear market. Now they're kind of one of the last groups to really turn up as far as within tech and climb the right side. But at least it's good to see that now we're starting to get some bottoming type patterns. Just need to break out of them.
Okay. Yeah, that is definitely good to look at. This market is just going insane while we've been on here. Take a look real quick, Danny, just because we were talking about this beforehand. BBIG. This is just like ridiculous. It went 100% in 10 minutes and they halted.
Oh my God. What a crazy day. What a crazy day.
It went 100% in 10 minutes. It's just mind-boggling. Absolutely mind-boggling what's happening here. Speaking of mind-boggling, I don't know. I just took a couple of hood lottos for the week, so just sharing that. Also, I'm still in Wayfair. I mentioned earlier, it's down about 5%. It's been down more than that. It's just been consolidating for like 20, 30 minutes. Since we hit 12, pretty much. Everything's just been consolidating for a lot of them. Okay. All right. Keep popping it around. This is really, really fun, by the way. Thanks to everyone in the audience. We really appreciate you. I'm sure most of you have, but if you haven't already, follow Ben and Danny. They're awesome. They give out tons of free information. They both have newsletters as well. They do mentorship. I mean, they deserve their followers. Absolutely. And then, of course, the TrendSpider account. We've got Dan, CEO, here today. Dan, you must have been real convincing there. You already converted someone. I just got the email. So there you go. You're rolling. So really good stuff all throughout today. So let's keep it going with some of these stocks. And I'm super fascinated by this market. These are the type of days that I live for. It makes it worth it waking up at, nice and early in the morning and getting it on nice and early. Okay, let's keep it going here. We've done Apple, Tesla, Google, NVIDIA, and a bunch of others. Let me throw one back over to Dan now. I thought this one looked interesting. They had earnings today. They dropped even lower, and that is Sea Limited, SE.
SE?
Yeah, down 14.5% on the day.
Oh, Yankees. Let's take a look. So my checklist is all red, except for it had news recently. So that's never a good sign. What's interesting is it's down, but I don't know if it's broken down. Let's see. Let's put a few support measures on there. Draw my trend line. So if you just simple trend line against the lows, the March 12th low, and then to the next outermost one on July 15th, it hasn't broken that, right? It's kind of approaching to it. If you anchor a VWAP at its March 12th all-time low, right, it's literally landed on it, right? If you draw a volume profile going back, let me even go further back in the weekly chart. If you draw a volume profile, it's basically trading at its POC right around there, depending on like which low you measure from, like February 2020 or October 2019. But in any case, right, any of those lows, its volume profile is showing that it's a pretty high volume area. So I don't know. I mean, it probably doesn't feel good to be in this trade right now. I don't know if I were in it, if I would jump out in a panic just yet. I'd want to see some levels actually fail. But then on the other hand, you do have this kind of toppy short-term pattern. I mean, if you look at a weekly, you have this bar, kind of a doji looking thing, and then, a retracement almost all the way to the bottom of the weekly bar 2 weeks ago, which is a bit concerning. It's also, it's dancing around its 15-period weekly MA. Right. So there's, mixed signals in this chart. Could be a bear flag, could be the start of a base, right? Every base starts as a bear flag. So I always keep that in mind. Keep your horizon in mind if you're trading it short term, versus if you're accumulating a position to hold on to for a long time. I personally probably wouldn't jump into it right here. Right. I'd want to see it like base a little bit. It'll probably go a little lower, like if that's what it's doing. Because it's got to shake out all the weak hands, which probably why I'm being asked about it.
Definitely fair. Yeah, I mean, I just, came across my radar. I saw some people liked the play long SE for the week. Obviously, that's not working out so great. So just curious how it's feeling now. But all right, sounds good. Okay, I'm trying to just pull again. I want to make sure we get as many tickers from the audience as possible. So if you haven't already, you can use the Spaces chat. It's just in the bottom right on mobile. It's lit up purple, says number 48. And I have been pulling. So we pulled already Tesla and some of these others from here. Someone asked any puts that stand out. Well, you can play any of these to the upside or the downside. There's definitely some good ones. Let's keep it going here. I mean, some of these are just going to be, the crappier plays, which are kind of firing right now. So let me just throw another one at you, Danny. I mean, this one's not too small. CAR, it's Avis Budget Group.
Sure. Just a note, I did get a DM from one of the listeners. So Tesla does have their split coming up. I believe it comes into effect August 25th. So I wanted to mention that. It's in a couple of weeks. Okay, Avis. I know we talked about this one. Was it 2021? We had a really big monster run. I think there was one day it just went absolutely nuts. It was like 174 to like 545, and honestly, since then it's really just been it's just been pulling back. So let's see. We are under the year-to-date anchor VWAP. We are over the 50-day simple moving average, but we are under the 200-day simple moving average. I'm actually going to anchor volume back to that crazy candle we had in 2021. And so, yeah, that's what I kind of suspected. So we're sitting in a pretty big supply zone. But if we can get over that 200, is a very big volume gap all the way up to 256. So your year to date is sitting at 204. Your 200 simple moving average is sitting at 213. We did have a TTM squeeze fire off on earnings back on August 1st. And today we're actually starting to break out of that ranged high off of that post earnings candle. So let's see, let's drop an anchored VWAP on there. We're holding over the power earnings gap up. So this one's actually looking pretty decent. The problem is that year-to-date anchor VWAP is 8 points above that. And then the 200 is going to be about 17 points above where we are right now. So I think it still has a lot of work to do to the upside. But if we can get over that 200, like I mentioned, we have that very big volume gap all the way up to around 255. So yeah, I mean, it's not something necessarily that I would play. Not necessarily a name that I would watch, but yeah, it kind of looks interesting here, but very little volume, well below average volume here on this move higher.
Okay, very nice. There's one from Danny. All right, some more interesting stuff coming in. I see people commenting. I'm staying away from too much of the big pumps right now. It's very hard to chart something that's gone up 60, 70, 80% a day. So we did some of the more popular ones, but I'm kind of trying to just weave in between the different ones that we're doing. Ben, do you want to take a look at Bitcoin and Ethereum for us?
Sure, I'll take a look. I'll just preface this by saying not my area of expertise, but it looks like that 25,000 level, Bitcoin first acted as resistance, still in kind of just this channel going up through there. It's a push through that level. I think if you can get that push through and it sticks, maybe you get a run back towards like 28 to 30,000. On the other hand, if you have like a trend line drawn there and in this channel and you break to the downside, I could also see a quick trip, back down to 20,000 or less. So kind of a interesting spot here where you're again kind of coming in flagging. And while the shorter picture may look like a bull flag, the larger picture, if you zoom out, whether that's on the daily chart or the weekly chart, looks more like a bear flag. So again, just going to have to see how it behaves and how it acts and which way it comes out of that channel. And it's really the same type situation with Ethereum. You're back, try to push above that 2000 level, had a really strong run from 1,000 back to 2,000, able to push through there. And again, just kind of one of those levels that acting as resistance, but you could go sideways here too. This is another one that if you're looking on the daily chart, maybe setting up more of a bull flag, whereas on the weekly charter, if you zoom out, you have more of a bear flag. But I think if you can push through that 2,000 level, maybe have a nice move back towards 2,500, maybe even 3,000 to the upside. But just so much work to do there. You have this risk too that if you do break to the downside, like what I was saying, if you zoom out to the weekly chart and you end up getting that break to the downside, it could be a quick trip back to 1,500 or less as well. So just in kind of a precarious spot, you're kind of in the middle of where I'd say it needs to break through. That 2,000 level, especially on Ethereum, really looms large, and I think that can kind of be your guide there in the short term.
Okay, perfect. Man, some of these plays are still popping off. I see the DMs people are sending. I see the scanners, big lots, I know it's coming across a bunch of people. That's it's about 10.5% now, still running. I'm also looking at a few others on here. Party City, they're up like 26%. FPay, ARTL. I mean, there's just a bunch of these. NU, I don't even. It's ridiculous. Nobody has any idea what like half these stocks even are. They're up like 25%. It's wild. Okay, awesome. So we're at 12:57. We are going to be having another space that's going to be starting in 3 minutes. It's going to be a gaming space. We do these weekly. They're really, really fun. We talk about like the gaming ecosystem. Last week we talked about the economic environment around it. We talked about the amount of money that's been invested into the ecosystem, as well as a bunch of other different pieces. How much money's been made, obviously. So we can go around and we can get some thoughts from our panelists as we wait for the next panelists to come into the space. Just some kind of closing thoughts on maybe the indices or how they're approaching the market or anything else around that. Let's start with Dan. Anything else you'd like to share today? Anything else that's on your watch list?
Yeah, so for the last couple of months, all these dips are getting bought up, and like Dan said, it's you could easily miss this move that we've gone up because your natural inclination in a bear market is to say, well, the top is coming, but the top isn't here just yet. But that's not to say that the top isn't close. I think with the meme activity that we're seeing here, I think that could be a little bit of a cautionary signal that we should, pause and just be observant of that kind of price action that we're seeing. But also we have FOMC minutes tomorrow. So I think, we're seeing a little bit of choppy price action today on the regular names that we normally trade. So I think we'll have a better, clearer signal after FOMC minutes come out tomorrow. So I think Thursday, Friday, going to be very cautious, or not cautious, observant of how price action works those 2 days. Because like I said, I think, there's still some juice potentially to squeeze to the upside. But what I'm looking at this is as an extended wave 3. And we are coming up into some supply on the indices. So I would expect that we should get a pullback. I would say soon, maybe sooner rather than later. And then for that pullback, that could last, a couple of weeks. And what I'm looking at that pullback potentially, if it does come, is a wave 4 activity. So if you're hearing wave 3, wave 4, that generally means wave 5 is coming next. And so what I'm thinking, just based on what I'm observing with price action and how the wave charts are coming in the indices, is that we might have a final 5-wave push up, maybe back to the all-time highs later in the summer, maybe in the early fall, leading into the election. So that's just, I'm not reading any tea leaves here. My crystal ball is still in the shop. That's just me looking at the charts, trying to look at them objectively and say, where are we now? Where could we go? And what if I'm wrong? So yeah, that's what I've got. And appreciate Ben and Dan and you, Gav, certainly, and of course all of the people who come out and listeners that come out every week to listen to these spaces, giving us a platform to do the work that we do every single day. So appreciate you all. Thanks again, Gavin. I'll see you on the next one.
My pleasure. Thank you, Danny. Appreciate you. Awesome stuff. Ben, anything else you'd like to share?
No, I think Danny did an amazing job there, pretty much covered it. And I would agree that when you see the stuff that's really been acting poorly and like Fubo up 40% today, the short squeeze is on. I mean, they're definitely squeezing some of those short interest names. That's usually a sign that things are getting frothy again. But I think Danny covered that really well.
Thank you, Ben. Awesome. And Dan, one more time for everyone, big shout out to TrendSpider. We love doing the space with them. I'm a big fan of their charting service, and I know Danny and Ben are too. We have the largest discount code on the internet pinned in the top of the space for TrendSpider. It's 35% off, but you don't even have to use it off the bat because you can use the 7-day free trial instead that's built into it to see if you like it first. And then it's literally like $20 a month or less. And again, if that's not worth the guidance and the tools that you're getting, I don't know what is. Dan, anything else to say on this one?
No, man. Thank you for having me on. Thanks for the plugs. Hope everyone had a great time listening to us ramble.
Love it. But Dan, enjoy the rest of your day.
All right. Bye, everyone.